Hey, welcome back to our 3D learning series here. We're on stream 6, I believe it is. And basically, we've got a couple of things to accomplish here. On our last series, we made some modifications to our spawning system, and we're going to continue that process through this video here. A couple of things we want to accomplish that we talked about before was having the ability to specify the when the items spawn, to specify what category of items or items can spawn on a per spawn basis. So right now it's set where we can spawn any of the master inventory items to any spawn location, or we can filter down by a category, but it's spawning to all the filtering applies to all spawn locations across the entire scene. So we want to change that so we have more control over that. And the best way I see to do that is to put the fine-tuning controls at the actual spawn location, where we can specify when we're setting up a spawn location not only the category of items that could potentially spawn there, but we could set up a default lifetime timer for that item that spawns, as well as how often an item should spawn in that location, so the frequency. And those values will be specified in seconds, the lifetime and the frequency. Now it's possible that the frequency could be set like every hour something would spawn, but the lifetime of the item that spawns could potentially only be like 30 minutes. So what that means is, there'd be a 30-minute block of every hour where there wouldn't be an item spawn there. Now, I'll probably try not to do anything that's exactly by the hour, so it's not really, you can't really calculate out. But we'll play around with some numbers that are kind of just off. Like maybe we'll do like a 40-minute spawn timer with an item that spawns for 35 minutes, and so or something like that. We'll play around with some numbers, but it's going to be flexible enough that we can control those numbers at each spawn location. Let me just make a note here. I want to make a note that we want to be able to at some point be able to classify one or more spawn locations within a certain group, so that we could apply some of these settings to an entire group of spawns as opposed to setting them individually. But right now we're going to in order to make that group thing happen, we do need to have the ability to specify these things at each spawn. So that's what we're working on today. All right, so let's start with this. First of all, I want to start by adding some new spawn locations. So we're going to use this part of the map here as an example. Probably somewhere in here. I'm going to get to a flat ground here. And it might just be easier to do the Y thing. Zoom out. Yeah, and just slide this over. Let's also change our we need to change our spawn location of our player so we can actually see stuff, or our camera, I should say. Let's see. Just checking to see if we updated this Jerry thing. Yeah, it's been updated. So we should be able to delete that. That was not supposed to be there. Anyway, let's do this. Let's just see where we're at. Kind of don't want to fool around with setting up too many spawns, but let's work in the logic first, then we'll set up some locations after. So we had in the last video the ability to filter by category, and so the way we have that set up right, you see the items that are there. We've got a gun, an ammo clip, another gun, a baseball bat, and there's a clip there, a regular mag. We look back at our script here, inventory manager. These are currently our categories. And we have our filter category set with an empty array being passed in. It allows all categories to be accepted, but you see we have the ability to specify individual categories. All right, so what we're going to do is create it's going to be a new script similar to the inventory item attributes. We've created this kind of stuff. We're going to do something very similar to that. We know we're going to need this one. We'll just copy that so we don't have to redo it. Anyways, let's jump back to Unity. And we're going to create a new script. So let's go to our scripts folder. A little delay. It's actually every time you come out of Visual Studio, it recompiles these scripts. So we're going to create a new C# script, and we're going to call it, so it'll be spawn location attributes. All right, so let's go ahead and view those, and so let's paste in that. So these are just going to be public member variables of this class that will be exposed through the inspector. And this script can also be accessed from other scripts by getting a reference to the object it's attached to, or the script itself directly. So okay, so we said we needed to define the category, so we have that. We also want to define a frequency, and we want our frequency to, it's going to be in whole seconds, so we'll use an int for that. Let's see if we would allow, let's see, if we had 60 seconds in a minute, and let's figure up our max thing just to make sure we get the right data type here. So 60 seconds in a minute times 60 minutes in an hour, it's going to be 3,600 seconds in an hour. And if we had an item, potentially we could allow up to a 24-hour period, spawn period. If we had this running as a open world server, maybe something that would only spawn once a day. That would be the extreme. Times that by 24 hours in a day. That's 86,400. Yeah, so an int can hold actually up to 32. Well, it can hold up to 65,000. So we might, I don't think anyone's really going to, worry about that. We'll limit it anyways, to an int size, which is 32,000 seconds roughly, 32,765. And this will be frequency m_frequency. Okay. Often does an item spawn in seconds? Okay, the first one will be what category or categories of items should spawn here. Leave blank for all. And we might have to do that as a string though. I'm not sure yet. What's going to be the easiest? We did talk about doing a drop-down list for the categories. A multi-select would be great. If there's a way to do a multi-select drop-down and make it the same across the board for all these. Anyways, for now we're going to make it a string array. Okay, and the other thing we need is the lifetime. How long basically before the item will despawn. That's also specified as seconds. That's pretty much all we need here. We won't really need much more than that. So those are the three things. What I'm not sure about is if this array here will show up in the inspector or not. Let's see. I guess we're not going to know until we that's the building spawn. This is for item spawn, so okay, so we have to bring a building in here just for a second because it has spawn locations on it. So we want to add a component, go to scripts, and spawn location attributes. Okay, let's add that. Oh, actually, it did add category. Okay, we can just add in whatever number of items we want. So right now it's 0, so there's nothing, but if we put 1, then it gives us some elements underneath that we can type it in. So, okay, cool. That's fine. That's exactly what we need. All right, so let's add that script to each of these spawn locations, and I think we did it. Yeah, we did a new script. Let's remove that. Remove component. Add script. I meant to grab the script we already have, not that one. Okay, so we're basically reusing that. Use it on anytime we add a spawn. I only have these 5 spawns right now in the scene that I'm playing around with, because we're really focusing on developing this spawning system. So once we get this fully developed, and then we'll move along and add some other spawns and buildings and things throughout the world here. We're going to use this little area here as our pilot for everything we do to get the majority of the game functionality working. The spawning system being the first to be able to spawn items. The next thing we'll work on is a pickup system. To be able to pick up items and store them in a player inventory, like stuff they would carry with them. Not like some games have like a master inventory. You can run stuff back to a vault and store it away and all that. This is just going to be items that you pick up and use that you'll have on you as you go. We're not going to worry about a master system or saving anything right now. So it's, as soon as you shut down the game, you lose everything you had in your backpack. That'll evolve over time into a more persistent storage. All right, so like I said, we'll be using these 5 for testing. So we have that. Let's go ahead and set some values. We're going to say the frequency. It can spawn something new, because we want to be able to see this. We don't want to do 20-minute intervals. We can adjust the times later, but the frequency would be in seconds. Let's just say every minute something new would spawn, and a lifetime of an item is going to be about 30 seconds. So we'll do spawns 1 and 2. I'm going to need 2 for this one. So the first one being ammo, secondary being weapon primary. Frequency again, 60, 30. Actually, we'll change this one up slightly. We'll make it 50 and 35, let's say. Yeah, we'll make it 40, close to 40, so it'll stay there longer. All right. This frequency will be, we're going to allow any item. We're not going to put anything in element 0, leave it blank, which would allow us to have any item. The frequency on this one, we'll make it more often that it spawns items every, let's say 15 seconds, and every, let's say 8 seconds. It's the lifetime of an item. Okay, this will be consumables. Consumable frequency. Do 60 and 30 like the first one. And the last item spawn, we'll make it spawn attachment frequency. We'll make this one every 2 minutes, and we'll say for a minute it'll stay there. Okay. So we have those values in there. Instead of applying this stuff to apply these changes back to the prefab, this will be our master kind of blueprint for this. Okay, so let's just check that. Okay, it won't let us actually see it there, but that's fine. That's why you got to bring it in here. It won't let us see those items. Okay, so we can delete that out. And so they all have a script attached to them, and each one had some default values set. Now what we need to do is modify our, we're going to go back to our script. Modify our inventory item, because since we're adding now basically a frequency. Well, actually the frequency is not necessarily used. That's used by the spawn timer itself to determine how often it should spawn items. The lifetime is going to be passed off to the item when it's spawned, and the item will be responsible for destroying itself in the appropriate time. So we're going to add this right here to our just put that these were added by me. I like to put a date of when I modified, so I can kind of track some changes when things are done. All right, so let's write the code. We're going to create a function. This will be in here that will actually use that lifetime, so it can destroy itself. So in order to know its lifetime, it actually needs to know its start time, or starting time that it was spawned, so that it can add the lifetime to that number and then come up with an end time and know, when it's over. So time dot time the time at the beginning of this frame. Okay, time at the beginning of this frame, that's what we want. At that frame when it's, so that'll give us the start time. We'll call this and it's a float value, so float start time. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. So, but what we're going to have is a function. So when this script is, when the object is instantiated, the start will run, and that will allow us to set up our start. Okay, just do that. Okay, so we got a variable to track starting time. Private void update. Okay. Now an update. What we'll have to say is if start time actually we'll take that back. What we want to say is if time.time, we're going to continue to get the new time every frame. So if time.time is greater than the start time plus the lifetime, then we want to destroy this.game object. So it'll destroy itself. Just to see if that works. We will go to our inventory manager. And let's just say we're gonna do ammo only is what we want to see. Or allow it to be spawned, and then let's see. We're gonna need to look at our inventory items, master inventory, just ammo really, because we're gonna set some properties. These, like I said, these are gonna be set really through this spawn script. We've got our lifetime values and our start time. So start time is set we ran, but the lifetime needs to be set. We'll make the lifetime 15 seconds so that we can see it expire fairly quickly. Alright, so let's run that. Just make sure it destroys itself. Should happen within 15 seconds. Should see these things disappear here. Alright, so it worked. I got removed. Perfect. Okay, so we know that works. So we're going to leave this lifetime at 0 because we're going to be setting it through the spawn. So let's go. Let's see how we have this set up. So we have on the spawn location we have a script, and that script is this right here. Okay, so let's go to our inventory manager, down to where we spawn. This is where the spawning actually happens. But we need to set some items here, some properties. Okay, so this is the line I was looking for, just to make sure I remember the syntax. This is the method used to retrieve a script off an object. And so let's copy that. Let's move up here to the spawn. So after our object is spawned, we have this reference here, this obj. It's saved in a game object. And so, and we also have access to the spawns through this for each spawn. So there's an object here called spawn. So we're going to be able to extract the script off that. Let's paste it in there. Let's say this is actually spawn location attributes called spawn details. And we'll just say it's equal to spawn dot get component spawn location attributes. All right, bear with me 1 second. I did not realize I didn't have my YouTube chat open. I just want to have that open so that I can see chat. I just want to have that open so that I can see chat. And I'm just going to type something out in chat here so I can make sure it works. Yeah, okay. So anything I see after that, if it is working. All right, so, okay, so we retrieve the spawn details. Now we should, and I have never done this before, but I'm assuming we can start setting, if we have our variables as public. Okay, that's the game object. This would be object dot, what do we name our properties again? The M, no? How do I get, I'm trying to see how we got access to some of that before. Okay, see, those are accessible. M underscore category. Oh, I know what it is. I'll have to get the script off the game object in order to access it. So we'll have to say something like item hold on. Let's see. Oh, inventory. I had spelled it wrong. So I guess we did need this after all. All right, so we're going to get that. Say item details, but it will be equal off the, not here, it's going to be the OBJ. And then we should be able to item details dot go m underscore. Now the get component gets, it doesn't get a copy of that, it's getting a reference to the inventory item attribute script and the content that's in it, anything made public. So we can directly modify these. So basically what we can say is we can set our lifetime is equal to spawn details dot m underscore lifetime. I guess I'm wondering, with us having the lifetime set initially to 0, will the object destroy before I even have a chance to get the details off? You have to update it. I guess we'll have to try it and see. So by making this change here, if this does work, then each of the individual spawn locations that we modified off our building, there's 5 locations, we had different different information there for it. We're not really using the category feature yet. Right now, I want to test the lifetime out, see if that works. And then, like I said, the frequency of how often it spawns items, that's code is going to be put in the spawn location attributes script. But this is all we should need for the items to get their lifetime value from the spawn location. All right, so let's go over here. We're in Unity. Save our scene. So play and see what happens. What we should hopefully see is that the items are there and then they despawn like various times because we had different timers on these items. We did set it for ammo box only. Okay, the first one went. Okay, 2 of the other ones, the ones that were set to a different, we had one that was set for 2 minutes, and so maybe that these are a little bit longer. Yeah, so that one despawned, and it looks like we've got, last one was the 2-minute one, the longest. While that's happening, I'm going to eat my cupcake while we watch that disappear, that last one there. Okay, great. So that all worked just as planned. It was awesome. Sometimes I don't get things right the first time around, but that definitely worked awesome. All right, so now we don't have any items respawning, so we need to add some script code to force a respawn of some items. So let's see how that's going to work. Let's think about this. While I'm thinking about that, I'm going to turn some music on and I'll be back in a minute. I'm going to eat my cupcake and think about this, because we need to have the ability for the spawn to initiate a respawn of an item only in that spawn location, not everywhere like we've been doing. So what I'm foreseeing, and I'm going to think this through, is that in our inventory item attributes, inventory manager, add another have to have a way. Either we're going to think how we can modify this so that it works, with a single spawn location or multiple spawn locations. Maybe what we should do is write a function that spawns an item for just a specific spawn that's passed to it, and then we'll modify this. Basically, it's going to be the code that's somewhat the code that's here. And our spawn items function will take like an array of spawn locations, and all it does is execute the code, use the spawn item function to spawn the actual item based on the parameters that it already has. So let's think about that. Y'all thinking about it, I'll be thinking about it. All right, so I'm back. So yeah, I think I'm gonna have to write a special function. At least that's the first attempt I'm gonna do, is write a function that will spawn a an item based on the parameters that are passed in for a single spawn location, and then we can modify the spawn items to um, spawn it. Use that to where you could use it for group spawning. We talked about later on doing group spawns where it will basically spawn items for a particular group of spawn game objects, spawn locations that are in a building or a certain area. So, all right, so let's do this. I know that we're pretty much going to have a very similar thing this, so I don't want to wipe out what we already have. Let's not break what we have. Let's copy that. Let's paste it in. And let's change this to spawn item. And what it's taking in here, we have to make this public first of all, because it needs to be accessed from outside of this script, from the spawn location attribute script. So we need to make it public. Void spawn item. And we're gonna have to pass it some information. We're not gonna have this for each loop that we have here that gets all, it's going through all the spawn locations. That's not going to work for this. We're not going through all the spawn locations. We're going through a specific spawn that is passed in. So what we're going to do is we're going to be passing in, like I said, we'll pass in game object spawn. So we'll pass in the spawn location. Let's see, the filter cats, we'll pass that in because we do have a category that we have on there. What else will we need other than that? Because essentially this function already is working with the lifetime we had and all that. So this function spawn item will be called from spawn location attributes when the frequency timer, or when that duration of time, the frequency passes. So I think we're good here. Well, the only thing what we want to do is check. We're not going to check the length. We're going to say if spawn equal to null. It's not equal to null, I'm sorry. So we want to make sure there's something in there. We have an actual game object there. We're still going to use our filters. We're not going to do this for each thing. So let's comment out the for each deal. We'll remove all that after we know it's working. So it'll go right in. It'll get we still want to get a random. Let's debug.log inside spawn item function. So we'll log that, just that message, so that we know that we're inside it, and we'll Okay, so the filters are still going to be there. Get to R, get the random from the master inventory. That's still something we need. We still want to do this while loop. I keep doing that while. Yeah, I think that's all gonna. That's cool. That may have been the only change, to be honest with you. Yeah, because once we get the flags here, I mean, we set these are set filter all or filter the item. We're instantiating the object. We added the information that will automatically set the despawn timer for the item. Yeah, so that looks like the only change we had to make. That'd be awesome if that's all it is. All right, so let's look at our inventory items. We're going to need to add if we don't have a start time. Okay, so in our spawn location, we have a frequency. So let's add that public float start time. Actually, we'll call it last spawn time. We'll just put a comment here. Last time an item was spawned. Okay, and so let's look at our inventory attributes. We're going to have something similar to that. I'll just copy this and we'll modify it. But instead of start time, we're going to have we're really not going to initialize anything here. But in the frame time, we want to check that if the so initially we're not going to set a value for last spawn time. What that will do is that it'll ensure that an item is spawned right off the bat. Because if not, if we can't really set it to any future value. It wouldn't make sense. You never know when the game's running. So just leave it at 0. It defaults to value of 0 by not initializing it. And so there'll be a little bit of a delay, actually. Our lifetime here is a value that we'll set in the inspector, as well as the frequency. And so initially, time.time is greater than m last spawn time, which would be at 0, plus the lifetime, which would be like 30 seconds or 60 seconds, whatever it is. More likely it is going to be, way over that. So, um, so when it is, we want to spawn a new item when that's true. Okay, and the way we're going to spawn the item is similar to what we did in the inventory manager here. Except we're going to get copy. We actually want to get an instance of the inventory manager. So this is actually inventory manager. Call it IM is equal to okay. IM dot, and we've got our public thing, which is spawn item. There it is. And we need to pass it a game object of the spawn location. So that would be the game object this component is attached to. So the component we're in right now is the script component, spawn location attributes. So this .game object will give us the game object this component is attached to. A component is always attached to a game. Okay, so that's what we need in order to pass that first parameter to get a game object passed. And then filter categories. So let's go to our inventory manager. Let's go back up here. We're just going to copy something here. String categories. Yeah, right here. So this is the way we'll do this, is to create filters category, and you just pass that in as the second parameter. Okay, then the last thing we want to do after we spawn the item, then we want to set the last spawn time. We have to update that, because if we don't, it'll stay at 0, and every frame it will, that if statement, time greater than whatever, will always be true. It'll keep spawning multiple items. So we're going to say if M category, whoops. Actually, I take this back here. I forgot we had just said we set up the categories so we can define them in the inspector. So it's M category. That'll work. So we don't need this, but we do need to set last spawn time equal to, basically set it to the current time, time.time. And we don't even need start. All right, so let's read through this. What's happening here? We've got our new variable, the public float m underscore last spawn time, initially set to 0 when you declare it like that, unless you've set a value in the start or somewhere else in the program before these lines are executed. And first frame is going to do a check. Of course, it'll be true. We'll get grab a reference to the inventory manager component. We'll make a call to the spawn item. We'll spawn pass it the game object for what the script is attached to, which is our spawn location, as well as the categories that are defined for it. And that's it. And we'll set the last spawn time to time.time so that each frame is checking. What we do have to change though, actually, how often does an item spawn here? This lifetime is the wrong value. This is used by the item itself when it's spawned. What we need here is the frequency, and I'm sure somebody that's watching this noticed that was wrong. All right, so let's go. That should be it. I mean, that should allow it to repeatedly spawn items and despawn them. So what we want to do is go to okay, we have two variables here, lifetime and start time. We've got them public, but I don't know if we need to because they're being set internally in the script. So we're probably going to hide those, keep them internal. Yeah, as is all these. So we'll double check that. Let's go back. Double check. Yeah, over here, yeah, nothing is actually set on the item itself here. But if we go to the inventory item, nothing is set there. I guess it's in the inventory manager. We spawn an item. We assign the lifetime. Then the item is spawned and it's running with this script on it. Okay, I guess we need to set the start time as well. We got the start time so that it's, oh no, that's initialized right here. So yeah, really that's internal. I don't know why I had that as, let's make that private. And same with the lifetime. We don't actually set it in the inspector. It's possible though, wait a minute. If it's not public, we cannot access it through the inventory manager script here. Item details. Because see, if I do this private, like this, the minute I change that, save it, we go to inventory manager. Yeah, see, it squabbles about it. But now there's another keyword you can use when you're defining protected. Let's see if it lets us do that. If I recall, the way the protected works in classes is it will allow us to access that variable. But I think I have to subclass off it like model behavior is doing. I would have to put a comma and add be on inventory manager, add this on there, but is that going to work? No. So we're going to, just for simplicity here, I'll research that because I do want to. Oh, I know what I can do. Is, yeah, we'll create a little public function which does not show up in the inspector, but it's available through scripting. Public void set lifetime int lifetime. And then here we could say m_lifetime equals _lifetime. Okay, so that could work better. This way, go to inventory manager. Instead of that, we're going to say set lifetime. And we just pass it this value as a parameter, like that. This way we're accomplishing what we need, and we're not exposing, keeping that private. So if we look back over here, yeah, see lifetime. Shown. What's it saying here? I'm getting inventory attributes inaccessible due to its protection level. Where is this? Due to its protection level. What's going on there? Let's look at the console. Line 181. Oh, you notice we still have our other function over here, so we need to change this one too. Set lifetime. That was under spawned items, just to, even though we're not using it right now. Which reminds me, I need to change the inventory manager here. I think we need to load our inventory regardless of whether we have spawn locations or not to spawn it into. So I just move that out, that function. So I don't really want any of this to execute, so what I'm going to do is just do this, comment this out. So the only thing it's going to do is load the inventory so we have it there. Right? And so I think we have it set where our spawn location script will initiate the spawning of an item at the frequency we have set up, and the inventory item script keeps track of itself, its lifetime, and will destroy itself if not picked up. So yeah, so that's good. And now in our assets error, yeah, this is better because we can, look, we have this player spawn and building spawn. We can control, because those are like player spawns and buildings. They're not really like item spawns. So we really needed this kind of control to be able to put it directly on those script the spawn locations. And the way that's designated is by the tag. So all right, so what I want to do, I need to actually see a building again. So I'm going to have to, again, pull this out, drop it in here, take a look at these item spawns again. And so, okay, I just want to make sure it's shown up. Our lifetime is 30, frequency is 60. I want to be able to see stuff spawn quicker, so I'm going to reduce these. I don't want that. I don't want to have anything more than 20 seconds. So, and I'll tell you what, I'll do this one starting at 10. Read the frequency. Lifetime of the object is 5, and I'll kind of go up from there on each one so we can watch them in order. Let's make this one 12, 6. This will be 14. Oops. 14. 7. And really, last spawn time doesn't need to be public, I don't think, here. I think we can change that to be, it's used internally only. We're never really going to set the spawn time, so let me change that to private. And I might have to create a getter function, a get function to get the time if we need it somewhere else, but I don't think we do. I think it's all used internally on that other script. So what do we do? Okay, 3, we did 14. Let's make this 16. That 8. This 18. And this will spawn, whoops, 18 and 9. Just so we get random items, let's just okay, the second one will be those two. Third one is anything. Fourth one, consumables only. Fifth one, attachments only. Alright, so we're good to go. Save our scene. So if all goes well, should we get now one last thing I want to jump back. I said about the this start time thing. No, last spawn time, I mean. Let's go back to the script. It's in the spawn location. Yeah, it's only used here, because it's only checked here. Let's make this private. Wait for Unity to compile. And then we'll hit go to our game tab here. Let's do a maximize on play so we get a larger screen. We get to see a little better. Uh-oh. So what happened? Nothing's spawning. Why is that? Probably because we didn't apply these. Everything new that we set up here. Let's reapply this stuff. All right, let's stop that. Something's not right. I think it has to do with our timers. I'm guessing. So every frame. Let's write out the game object name, and so we know which spawn location this is affecting, and let's see, this that game object that name, and then we'll also write out underscore last spawn time. Frequency. See, we're doing our frequency and it's an int, so we're doing it like whole numbers. I'm afraid that the time with the way it's represented may not be what I'm thinking in seconds since it's a float. You know, we might need to investigate that. We might need to change. Like one may mean like an hour. You know what I mean? Because of the way the float value is interpreted for the time that time. And let's also show the time.time actually plus time.time plus okay, so every frame we're going to be logging that so we can see what the heck is going on. Actually, I want to detach the console window. Alright, so let's hit play. Let's see what we get now. So we're logging values, obviously. Item spawn 2. Yeah, just as I thought. See, it's a float 0.48193, whatever that means. See, it's never going to be greater than well, there it went. It says, okay, we got an error then at some point. It did start doing it. All of our object reference set the instance of an object, spawn location, attributes, dot update, assets, scripts, spawn location, line 20. They all seem to be line 20. Something wrong with line 20. Let's go back to that. Um, just log that if we're not getting that, but it could be this .game object is not really giving us the reference we need. Maybe we need to say get component. Let's make that change. Let's let her rip and see what happens. Yeah, I am is null. That's null. Yeah, so there's not going to be, I'm saying get component inventory manager, but I have to specify. Get. Let's see, is there another get function I can use? Get. Okay, find object of type. Let's see. Turns the first active loaded object of type. Okay, that's probably the one I need, not this get component. Inventory manager, object of type. All right, so we're working through a few kinks here. Trying to work through this. Let's clear the log again. And we'll run this again. Okay, so what's happening here? It's looking like it's got one error. I don't actually see where that is. Okay, what that fractional time was the fact that you got multiple frames per second, so you're gonna have fractional times. So that's not an issue. But I don't think it ever calls our function because let's see our spawn item. Yeah, inside spawn item function, that never gets called actually. Spawn item never gets called, so that's gonna happen here. Oh, dude, no, there it is. Spawn item. Spawn item is called. Wait a minute. I actually changed this, but I really think that's what I needed. Okay, so let's not log this. We know this is emitting a lot of information, which we don't need to do. We know that this is working out. Private void start, just so we get something kicking off right away. Let's say time equals time dot time. We have to set that to the current value so we can get something spawned right away. Okay, I'm hoping that fixed it. Or for some reason we're not jumping into. Well, actually, we are because we weren't getting the IM is null thing anymore. That stopped. Okay, locked up. Locked up. Great. Alright, so Unity just locked up on me. Got everything saved. Let's exit that. Luckily, these are open here. Here's what I'm going to do. Since the stream is locked up anyways, I'm going to have to power cycle my computer. I'll just end the stream now, but you see the direction we're headed. Got a minor bug I got to work out, so I'll get that corrected, and on my next stream, I'll update y'all on what I did to fix that. So I appreciate y'all stopping out. Please subscribe if you're currently not subscribed and you want to follow when I go live and interact through our chat in real time. So I appreciate all the subscribes and all that. Please post any questions you might have as well, and I'll answer those as soon as possible. Thank you.